So the first question for you is, as you know, a lot of people that know about NEQA or that go to NEQA feel like a traditional four-year school is the path that every NEQA student takes, which, as we know, is not true. And it's not the path for everybody. So what was the thought process behind you choosing a service academy and then specifically the Merchant Marine Academy?
Well, I think that's a really great point because I do feel like schools push college a little bit too much, and we don't really have a good idea of like military, trade school, associate's degree, community college. I feel like those aren't advocated for enough. Me personally, I just knew I wouldn't fit in at a regular college, and I wanted something different. I was actually thinking about just enlisting first, and then my mom was actually the one that helped me find these schools. We went down to St. Louis for a college fair, and Kings Point had like a little station there, and I was only thinking about like the Naval Academy and the Coast Guard Academy before. And I was like, okay, let's go check out Kings Point. And then they had this little pamphlet about Sea Year, and they told me I only had to do 3 years of school instead of four. An entire year would be spent out at sea, like hands-on learning. And I was like, well, sign me up. That's it.
All right, so technically you're in your third year there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So what have you experienced there so far? Talk about, I mean, obviously I know C year, but explain to the students who are going to be watching this, you're in your third year of college. What all have you experienced so far?
So it's kind of broken up into phases. So you begin out as a plebe. So you go through a 2 to 3 week indoctrination, which is kind of like a boot camp. They run you around, they yell at you, they teach you how to march and square, all of that stuff. And then classes start. That's why our indoc is so short, because we have SEER and we have to get to classes right away. So you have 3 trimesters of classes, and during that time you're still a plebe, so they're still going like through all the squaring, and you have to carry your backpack in your hand instead of wearing it, and morning musters and all of that. So it is a lot to do all of it at once, but you do it with all of your best friends, and there's a great sense of camaraderie, and that was something I really appreciated during that time. And then finally you get recognized in the spring of your plebe year, and then you're actually a midshipman after that. And then there's 2 different splits. So I was B split. So I went right out to sea after plebe year, and I went out to sea for 4 months. And then I came back for 1 trimester last winter. And then I went out to sea for 8 months just now. And now I'm back home because I finished. I'm waiting to go back to school. And then I'll have 5 more trimesters after that. And then hopefully license and graduation.
Yeah. So during the 2 times you were out to sea, where did you go? What did you experience?
So first sailing, I was on 2 different ships. I was on the Maersk Detroit, which was a K-class container ship, and that went to the Middle East. So we hit Spain, Egypt, through the Suez Canal, around the Arabian Peninsula to India, and then all the way back. And then I was also, the United States also has this fleet of ships called the Ready Reserve Fleet, RRF, and they basically sit in ports, and in times of a war, they would be activated. So I got put on one of those vessels in New Orleans for a month for sailing as well. It's called the Cape Kennedy. It was a ro-ro, so it carried vehicles. And then second sailing, I was on another RRF ship, mainly because it was so hard to get a shipping billet because of Corona. They were having trouble filling spots. Companies didn't want like crew changes to happen. So I ended up on another RRF ship. This one was in Williamsburg, Virginia. It was the Gopher State. That one was pretty cool because it was a steamship, and there's not many steamships left these days. So it was really cool to see one. And then I just got off of the Charleston Express, which is a container ship, and it goes to Northern Europe and back on the East Coast.
Wow, what experiences. And that's what I don't think a lot of people realize is that you get thrown into off the deep end, if you would, with a lot of this, with being at any academy. You know, you are put into situations where, at a 4-year school, you don't get that right away. So, yes.
Yeah,
wow, how cool for you.
Kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So what other things between now and when you graduate in 22 are you going to be experiencing? I mean, it might be different because of the virus. But
Right.
traditionally, what would you be experiencing between now and graduation?
Um, so as I mentioned before, I have 5 more trimesters left. And so in that time, we have to work in indoctrination. So I'm actually an EMT on campus. So I either have to work indoc as an EMT or as a drill instructor. So we'll see which one they want me to do. So I'll have to do that. And then senior year, there's a lot of traditions that hopefully we'll be able to do. I know some of the seniors the past year missed out in a couple of them, but there's a luau, there's a ring dipping ceremony. So we get our class rings and then they collect water from all of the 7 seas and then you dip your rings in the water.
Oh,
It's a
that's
really
cool.
important tradition that I'm excited for. Um, when we graduate, we become licensed engineers by the Coast Guard. So we have to take the Coast Guard exam, which is like a test with 7 different parts. It's very long, it takes all day. So people study for months for it. So that's another thing I'll have to do senior year. I also have to do a capstone project. I'm a marine systems engineering major. And what that looks like is you basically get with a team of other students and everyone designs a different system on the ship. Like someone has lube oil, someone has cooling water, things like that. And you get together and you like literally make a ship work. So it's very, very interesting. And that's something I never thought I would enjoy because at Niqua, I didn't take any engineering classes. I didn't even think I would like being an engineer, but it turns out I love it. Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith and try something new.
So looking ahead to 2022, when you graduate, what are your plans after you graduate? Like what kind of, how many years of service do you have to do? What are your plans? What do you hope to do?
So I'll just go over the commitments real quick for everyone at USMMA. So right now, there's 2 options. Option one, which is what 70% of the students at our school do, is they do 5 years of commercially sailing on commercial vessels, and they maintain their license for 6 years, which basically means you renew it one time. And then you have 8 years of being an officer in the Naval Reserve as a strategic sea lift officer. So strategic sea lift officer is just basically a group of merchant mariners that the Navy has collected that in times of war, in times of need, we are experts. We are maritime experts. You've often seen Navy ships crash, but that's just because they don't have the same level of training that we have regarding navigation and engineering and things like that. So it's important to have that reserve group. So that's what 70% of our school does. And then the other 30%, they choose to go active duty. So if you go active duty, you just have 5 years of service in that regard, and you don't have to worry about the other stuff.
Have you decided which way you're going to go yet?
I have not yet. Going into Kings Point, I had a very specific idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a surface warfare officer. And then as I'm like going through the school and learning about my options more, I just there's so many more things I want to do now. So I'm actually really struggling with that, like making a decision. And I think that's like something important maybe the high schoolers can relate to too, because you don't have to know exactly, like I thought I needed to know exactly where I needed to go and what I needed to do, but there are really so many options out there and you might find something you never even considered before too. Like I didn't think I would like commercially sailing, and I ended up really liking it too. And now I'm even thinking about maybe flying or like or like what if I was an engineering duty officer for the Navy, or what if I went and sailed or worked on the oil rigs, things like that. So I'm really not sure right now. I have to figure that out soon, so that's kind of bad. But I think the lesson out of this is you'll figure it out one day. And I was so stressed out about that stuff in high school, but I think Kings Point has just taught me to take things one step at a time, and you'll make it there eventually.
Oh, that's great advice, and definitely good advice for the high school students as well.
Yeah.
Okay, looking back at your 15 or 16-year-old self when you were here at Niqua, what would you say to that person, and what do you wish you knew
Um,
then that you know now, what would you tell that 15, 16-year-old self?
That is such an interesting question.
Because it wasn't that
I'm a
long ago.
very different person than I was 5 years ago. But I would have to say, I was so I think I was so stressed out when I was 15 and 16. I didn't really take time to like enjoy the things that mattered, you know? So I would definitely say that, just maybe like live in the moment, because I know you're always thinking ahead, you're always thinking to the next step, that sometimes you forget to think about the now. And then what else? Uh I don't know. I also was like a high stress person too, and I think being out in the real world has like calmed me a little bit and showed me what's truly important. And like I was stressed about every single homework assignment and every single. I did 3 sports in high school. I would stress about every single meet, every single event and stuff. And I don't know. Now I do a sport in college too, and I do it for me. I do it for fun now. So
What advice would you give to current NEQA students who are thinking about joining the military, whether it's enlisting or go the academy route? What advice would you give to them?
I would definitely say just research all of your options. Try to talk to as many people as possible. I know they have great recruiters out here in the Midwest. Maybe stop by, go see them in person, ask about your options. Definitely talk to other people. You can always talk to Noah or I if you're interested in learning about like what service academies are like, because it's definitely not something you just whimsily sign up for. You have to know what you're getting into. And sometimes I think people just have like a narrow vision of maybe the military. Oh, they're just gonna go shoot again and get some bad guys in the Middle East, or I don't know. I guess that's what I thought about it. But that's definitely not what it's like at all. It's almost like working for an organization or a company, more like. So there's so many different jobs. There's everything from civil engineers to intelligence to like planning and budgeting and purchasing. So if you like business, if you like humanities, if you like medical, there's options for all of that too. And I think a lot of people overlook those options.
I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of people do, because yeah, they think one thing and they don't realize there's so much more.
Right.
What makes Kings Point different than the other service academies?
Oh, that one's easy. So when you graduate from, for example, like West Point or the Naval Academy, you are ranked in your class throughout the years, academically, physically, leadership, whatever, like that. And it all goes into the score. And then at the end of your senior year, they assign billets based on, and then you get to like pick which ones you want, but based on what score you have, then that's like the order of preference for billets. So say you didn't have a strong score, you would probably not end up getting the job that you wanted right out of college. I think that's where Kings Point is different, because you have just so many options out of Kings Point, and you're not competing with the other service academies for billets. You're competing with the ROTC billets, which makes you way more competitive because you're a service academy. I have no idea why it works that way, but if you want a flight spot, if you want an EOD spot, if you want any sort of nuclear spot, if you want any of those billets, you are 10 times more likely to get it at Kings Point than you are at any other service academy. So I think the biggest part about Kings Point that differs is the fact that you have so many different options when you graduate. And you can go in thinking you want to go active duty, and you can come out sailing commercially and only having to do reserves. So there are just so many different career options. And I think any of the other academies, you get one when you come out, and you don't even get to pick that one sometimes. So I think that's why Kings Point is really special. You can truly make it whatever you want.
Okay, last question for you is, how does it make you feel to know that you're going to be serving our country? And has that changed you at all?
It's a very big burden to take on, actually. I don't think I fully understood it when I first signed up. I think I was just like, okay, let me sign the papers, but it's actually kind of crazy signing that away like 5 to 8 years of your life. And I think it's scary at sometimes, but it reassures me that I'm here for the right reasons because I love my country, and I found a passion here of just like helping people and making it feel like I'm making a difference, being a part of a bigger picture, things like that. So the commitment isn't as scary when I take a second back and look at what truly matters. And the fact is, 5 to 8 years is nothing if it's doing something you truly love for a reason that matters.
Well, Erin, again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all you're doing and the service to our country and everything you are doing now and everything you will be doing. It is truly appreciated very much.
Well,
Yeah. And enjoy your time at Kings Point. I can't wait to hear about how you do and follow your progress and your future and all that kind of stuff.
thank you.